In the Dark. Written by Connor Cooper. Part 4. Cutting, slicing, ripping, severing. The cold metal cut right through him, so much that the pain meds weren't helping. Not one bit. Regardless, he still remained awake, watching the machine do its work, cutting away at his flesh before grafting synthetic tissue into his exposed body. There was so much pain, but this was the price of survival. Evolve or die. But it hurt. So much, even so long after the surgery was completed, he could still feel the needles and blades dig into the flesh, while the drills took apart his skeleton and reconfigured it before casting it all in metal. He could almost hear it, even now in his dreams. The sound of his own screams. Equine Express.
What?
Salem felt someone push at his arm, causing him to wake up.
Who? Oh, it's you.
Looking into the wide eyes of his partner, Salem pushed himself from the bed, seeing the entity staring back at him.
Was I doing it again?
Nodding to Salem's question, the Chimera gave a low sigh.
Did I wake you?
The entity nodded.
Sorry.
Shaking her head, the hands of the entity grabbed his arm before trying to pull him from the bed.
What is it?
The moment he stood up from the bed, his companion pointed to the bathroom.
Oh, right, I forgot.
Tugging out his limb, the dark figure almost dragged him to the bathroom while they reached for his pack.
Okay, cool your jets, Jesus. Can't let me have breakfast first, can you?
Receiving the universal gesture for no, Salem gave a sigh before bringing out a small black bag and placing it into the sink. Opening the bag, he pulled out a comb and some scissors before going to the SCP before him.
Now hold still.
Twilight walked down the hallway in the train cart before stopping in front of the locked door that led to the room Salem was resting in. At least that's what she thought, but seeing how the other elements were up, and this being the only door to the last suite, she was pretty sure it was his. Knocking on the door, Twilight waited for the human to answer. While she waited, the Princess of Friendship could hear something clink and shift before the door. Giving another knock before waiting for a few moments, this time she spoke.
Salem, it's Twilight. Are you alright in there?
Still nothing.
There's some food in the other cart if you want anything to eat for breakfast.
Nothing but those clinking sounds. Twilight felt a dreadful thought cross her mind before looking at the locked door and knocking a third time.
Salem, is everything okay?
Twilight could feel her blood go cold for a moment before letting herself give in to her paranoia. Using magic to unlock the door, she let herself into the suite before peeking her head in. No longer muffled, she could hear water running from the bathroom and snipping noises. Confused, she felt herself wander in while slowly creeping up to the open bathroom door, making for the side as she slowly tilted her head to see the source of the noise.
There, that looks good.
Salem's muffled voice spoke out, and Twilight felt a wave of relief wash over her. Still, she was a little curious about what was making that sound, so she peeked in. Looking in, the purple pony saw Salem standing alone in the bathroom, holding a pair of barber scissors and a comb, which was a little surprising, but why did he sound like he was done cutting his hair, even though he still had his helmet on? Turning down to look at the floor, she spotted cut hair trimmings on the floor around his metal boots.
I think it looks good.
Twilight overheard Salem speak.
What do you think?
Her blood froze over, and she ran out of the room and slammed the door behind her.
Oh, this isn't good. He probably thinks I was trying to spy on him or something.
What was that?
Salem and his companion looked at the bathroom to the door that exited into the main train cart. Giving a shrug, the entity turned back to the mirror to look at her reflection, pulling back the freshly trimmed black locks with her fluff. Placing his arms down, he looked in the mirror with his partner's reflection before giving a smile.
You like it?
His companion nodded at the question, causing Salem to chuckle.
Well, how about we do the rest later when we get the chance? I'm starving.
His comment resulted in the fluffy mess turning back at him with sad puppy dog eyes.
I promise we'll do it later, and besides, that shower's way too small.
he said, pointing at the stand at the shower with his scissors. The entity gave a low sigh before dropping back into Salem's chest plate.
Hey, a few hours more of long fur wouldn't hurt.
Sticking her tongue out at him, Salem chuckled before stuffing his grooming tools away from his bag and placing it back into his warp pack.
I swear, you could be such a drama queen sometimes.
His companion only responded with another blowing raspberry with her black tongue, causing the dark-armored host to chuckle.
What am I going to do with you?
The dining cart. Ah! Rainbow Dash smiled, leaning back in her seat.
Nothing beats Canterlot-style pancakes. Well, excuse me,
Pinkie Pie commented on her friend's treacherous comment.
I thought you said my pancakes were the best in the whole entire world. What happened to them no longer being the best?
Rainbow Dash smiled, holding her hands up defensively.
I didn't say they weren't the best, Pinkie. I'm just saying nothing beats, well... Go on, finish what you were saying.
Pinkie Pie narrowed her eyes at the daredevil of the group.
Look, Pinkie, I didn't mean to... Oh, look, it's Salem.
Rainbow pointed out and seeing the dark-armored otherworlder entering the dining cart. The rest of the elements and Princess Luna turned to see Salem, walking up to the table in the middle of the moving cart.
Morning.
Salem greeted before sitting down on an empty seat next to Applejack at the end of the table. All the rest of the ponies within the train cart greeted him, although Twilight's morning greeting was a bit nervous-sounding.
How'd your sleep, partner?
Applejack asked, while Salem removed his helmet, revealing his mismatched fur again.
Like a rock.
Lifting his nose into the air, the altered humanoid smiled upon the sweet smell that loomed in the air.
Oh man, pancakes. God, I haven't had these in... Well, I can't remember, but damn, those smell good.
Luna summoned some of her magic to lift a couple of pancakes off to the large platter, in the middle of the table to Salem's plate, causing him to chuckle.
Huh. Cool trick. What was that? Some sort of telekinesis?
Salem asked, which Luna chuckled.
Yes, it is similar to a telekinesis spell.
After looking at the Night Princess for a moment, Salem flinched slightly before returning a chuckle.
Man, I'm not gonna get used to this.
He turned from his plate and looked over to Twilight, who had a butter plate in front of her.
Hey, it's Twilight, right?
The purple pony snapped out of her blank stare while looking from her food to the chimera.
It wasn't me,
she snapped, causing Salem and the rest to give her a weird look.
I just asked if your name was Twilight.
Salem deadpanned, narrowing his eyes at the purple alicorn before pointing to a small plate in front of her.
Can you please pass the butter?
Nodding, the Princess of Friendship summoned a similar spell that Luna casted a few moments ago, setting the plate floating in the air and towards Salem's side of the table.
Thanks.
Taking the tray in his hands, Salem grabbed his butter knife before he remembered something.
Hey, is there any chance I can get a second plate?
A second plate? But darling, you haven't even touched your food yet,
Rarity politely pointed out.
I know, it's just something I usually do,
he replied cryptically.
Why do you have 2 plates of food?
Rainbow Dash asked, giving him an accusatory look.
Do you eat 2 stacks of food for every meal? Just use the same plate and grab a second helping.
Applejack shot her friend with a look of disapproval.
Rainbow Dash, don't you go judging him for his habits. For all we know, it could be part of his custom back in his home.
Not wanting to spark an argument, Salem spoke out hesitantly.
Actually, it's something I do because... Well, it's hard to explain, but...
Because you want your friend there to have some food too?
Pinkie Pie pointed out, causing Salem's pointed ears to perk up, while her friends looked at the spot next to Salem where she was pointing.
Pinkie, there isn't any pony there.
Rainbow said, clearly confused.
Rainbow, don't be such a big meanie pants. She's right over there.
Pinkie grinned confidently towards the empty seat.
I mean, she's a little spooky looking like Salem, but that doesn't mean you could ignore someone like that. Pinkie, darling, Rainbow is right. There isn't any pony there.
Rarity spoke up to the Pegasus' defense, causing the pink mare to turn at the fashionista with puzzlement.
You too, Rarity?
Pinkie looked at each of her friends for confirmation, much to the party pony's dismay as they offered only looks of shared confusion and bemusement, which caused said party pony to lift her hands up in frustration.
Seriously? None of you can see her?
Pinky, can you see someone standing next to me?
All the eyes then turned to Salem, who was looking at Pinkie Pie while pointing his thumb at the space next to him.
Of course I do.
The Pink Bear nodded enthusiastically.
I noticed her back when we first met you at the Crystal Empire. I didn't say anything because she didn't say anything, so I thought she was just shy and clingy to you the whole way to the train. So I gave her some space to get comfortable.
Salem lowered his arm and looked into the spot, almost if he was looking up at someone. A look of bafflement was on Salem's face before he spoke.
So, you can really see Mallow?
Pinkie Pie nodded again, all while the rest of the still had looks of confusion on their face.
That's her name? It's nice to finally meet you, Mallow.
Pinkie Pie waved to the spot next to Salem.
Wait, if you can see her, how many fingers is she holding up right now?
Salem asked while the group was looking at Salem, Pinkie, and the empty space.
2, 5, 7, and now she isn't holding up anything.
Pinkie Pie answered. Salem nodded thoughtfully before turning to Pinkie.
Huh. Okay, that's weird. I thought I was the only one who could see her.
Pinkie tilted her head.
Why do you say that?
Because your friends can't see her.
So?
I'm her host,
Salem flatly replied.
What does that mean?
While the two continued to play 20 questions, Luna closed her eyes as she cast quietly a magic detection spell. She then opened her eyes to see the passive magical aura that was invisible to the naked eye. Orange, yellow, white, blue, pink, and purple. She could now see the colors of the elements of harmony enveloped by their bearers, as well as her own dark blue aura and her sister's golden light auras surrounding them respectively. As the bright as they were, however, that caught her attention was the blank void, where what should be the human creature that was Salem. That's strange. So he has no magic, or at the very least, not abundant. However, igniting her horn again to cast a different magical vision spell, an older spell that was Star Swirl's making, the results were not what she was expecting. Opening her eyes once more from the casting, her pupils shrank in horror at the sight of what stood next to Salem, causing her to almost fall off her chair.
By my mother's mane, Salem, what an equestrian is that thing?
After briefly sharing a surprised look at his companion, who replied with a confused shrug, Salem turned to Luna.
Wait, you can see her now too?
Answer the question, Salem.
Luna demanded as her eyes narrowed, still glowing brightly from her spell.
What is the nature of that creature beside you?
Please, Princess, just calm down a bit. She's harmless.
He raised his hands up defensively.
More importantly, how could you see her?
I cast an old spell upon myself to see how you see things.
Salem lowered his hands as he noticed the Dark Princess partially relaxed.
Is that why your eyes are glowing yellow?
Luna nodded.
A side effect from the spell. More to the point, why didn't you say anything about your companion here?
Salem looked at her before looking back to his black furry friend next to him.
You didn't ask.
He flatly replied.
Wait, timeout.
Rainbow Dash stood up from her chair before giving all too familiar timeout gesture with her hands.
How come we can't see this Milo person? Only Pinkie, Salem, and now Princess Luna can.
Salem held out his hand to himself.
Well, I know why I can, kinda.
He mused before pointing to Pinkie.
As for Pink over there, you got me.
But that doesn't really answer the question, darling. You said something about being a host before. Does that have something to do with it?
The element of generosity spoke up, to which the altered human nodded.
Yes. See, Milo here is an anomaly from my world known as SCP-1471-A.
Salem answered.
And I think... hold on.
A robotic arm moved from his backpack before reaching the top of the pack and pulled out a manila folder.
I have a copy of Milo and her sister's and brother's files here, if any of you want to read it.
Salem promptly continued with a slight hesitation.
Although, fair warning, my partner here is a little... different. Like me.
Ah, that's sweet.
Pinkie cooed with a smile.
I didn't mean like that now!
He jerked in pain from his unseen friend. He glared at the empty space holding his arm.
Hey, I was trying to explain... Fine.
Rolling his eyes at the spot, he handed the file to Twilight, who was reaching for it.
What's she doing with her hands?
Sign language. All SCP-1471-As are mute.
though she likes to get my attention through other ways, usually pulling me around most of the time. Salem answered with a chuckle.
Oh, can you teach me?
Pinky gleamed excitedly. Well, I'm not really a good teacher myself, but I know someone who can help you if you ever get a working computer rig set up again. Salem answered. The pink pony tilted her head inquisitively.
What's a computer?
While the two continued to bicker, Twilight was already skimming through the folder before she stopped on a page containing the picture of SCP-1471-A. From her time in the mirror world, Twilight could understand a few things that the descriptions talked about, with the mention of how SCP-1471-A uses an app to appear to a human who downloaded said app. Noticing the purple alicorn shift in her seat, Fluttershy peeked over to Twilight's shoulder, slightly curious as to what was apparently standing next to Salem. The image she saw made her shudder.
Oh, it's a machine doohickey that can just do whatever it wants?
Applejack added, finding herself in Salem's discussion of what a computer was. No, not really. Salem replied, not noticing Princess Luna leaving her seat to see the folder in Twilight's possession. Standing over Twilight's shoulder, a confused grimace on the princess's face as she observed the creature's grim visage. Twilight, noticing Luna over her, passed her the folder. Taking the file, the Princess of the Night studied the image, scratching her mane in confusion as she noticed Mallow's differing appearance from the picture.
So when you said Mallow was different, is it because of her appearance?
Luna interrupted Salem explaining what a video game was to Rainbow Dash. What do you mean? Asked Salem.
Your friend looks nothing like this picture.
Luna held the folder out to the rest of the table, causing all but Pinky and Salem to flinch at the photograph of SCP-1471-A entity. Well, I guess you can say she had a makeover, like I did. But for Mallow's case, there was less pain on her end. Salem answered, retrieving the folder from Luna as she offered it back and slid it back into his metal pack. Look, it's not a big deal. I wouldn't have gotten around to explaining why. I usually ask for 2 things of food. I just don't want her to go hungry, alright? Luna looked at Salem before giving a nod and bringing up another plate with her magic. All those who couldn't see Mallow watched as a seat at the end of the table moved on its own before moving back forward, followed by a knife and a fork, slightly lifting before vanishing. This caused the group that couldn't see her to feel a little uneasy as they watched the invisible anomaly eating the food before their very eyes and slowly disappear into nothing.
Did she eat the knife and fork?
Rainbow whispered to Pinky, to which the party pony stared at her with bemusement.
Of course not, silly. She's holding them like every pony else. Why would you think that?
Well, I have this theory that might explain why, Salem offered. Do you guys have the whole Schrodinger's cat concept here? All the ponies besides Luna and Twilight shook their heads, to which the human provided a brief summary of the theory.
Luna?
Turning to her fellow princess, Luna looked down at Twilight, who was still sitting down.
How come we never heard of this SCP Foundation in the mirror world?
Continued Twilight. Crossing her arms underneath her breasts, Luna shrugged.
I do not truly know, young Twilight. Perhaps my sister can resolve this question once we return to Canterlot. Alright, I forgot she went ahead to go check the mirror.
Twilight then gave a sigh.
Hopefully she already figured this whole thing out.
Canterlot Castle, Medical Hall.
Sunset, are you positive that you don't know what caused your sudden return?
Celestine asked the yellow-coated unicorn, who currently had her broken arm in a sling.
Honestly, Princess, I have no clue. One moment I was in the middle of my midterms, and the next I shot through the mirror like a cannonball.
Sunset hissed while our nurse tightened the wrappings on her cast. Sunset sighed before standing up. She had hoped for some answers, but all she had gotten since her arrival was more questions, especially with the sudden return of Sunset and the sirens. Unlike Sunset, those 3 arrived mostly unharmed and escaped from the guard before they could catch them. From the report, the mirror shot out 4 of them around the same time she, her sister, and the elements went to the Crystal Empire to stop Sombra, which left her with the question that lingered in her mind the most.
Did Salem's arrival cause the mirror to this? If so, did this arrival also cause the mirror to shatter after it shot the sirens and Sunset back to Equestria?
Whatever the case, the magical relic she had for so long was finally gone, along with any answers that she might have had in finding out what happened in the human world. Then again, she should have known in her long life that answers would not come too easily, now would they? There we go. Another fantastic chapter, although I do apologize if you guys hear the occasional background noise. It is very windy over here, and I cut as much of it as I could, but some might have snuck through. Besides that, I would like to thank my wonderful donators. Thank you, Chase Lemaster, Squall Windfeather, Starlight Blaze, Thine Tiny Equine, Rainflicker, Dreamless Portal, and Stu X. My Tier 2 Patreons, Captain Blueshadow, Solus, Sword Brethren Mordred, HKH4 aka Texture, and the Animated Ghost. And of course a large thank you to Silent Titan. I appreciate your guys' support so much, and it means a ton to me. If you want other ways to support, we'll consider liking, leaving a comment, and of course subscribing, maybe joining our Discord channel down below. I appreciate any and all support so much. Anyways, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.